I'd do something different today and shoot outside while I had the opportunity. It is a little bit grey and it could start raining heavily any second now, but I thought I'd do this just for something different. I'm going to talk about the fact that it's nearly the end of the year, and I wanted to show you all the fragrances that I added to my bottle collection throughout 2024 and mention a couple that I'm thinking about getting rid of, or any that I've finished throughout the year. It's been a strange year in terms of adding to my collection and doing any decluttering. I haven't actually done any decluttering at all really this year, apart from finishing one bottle of perfume, which I won't be replacing, and I did finish another bottle that I immediately bought a new version of. So I'll start with those ones. I finished my bottle of L'artisan Timbuktu that I've had for many years. Finally emptied that bottle this year, and I won't be replacing it, mainly because I'm not sure. As much as I like Timbuktu, and at times I've loved it, I don't feel like I need to have it anymore. Maybe it was just a thing that I had it for such a long time. I was so familiar with it, and there is at least one L'artisan that I enjoy actually more than Timbuktu, which is Zonka, and I'm quite happy having that because I think they're kind of related as well. I did empty my older bottle of Dior's Fahrenheit, and I've replaced that with a newer, bigger bottle. So now I'm going to get on to the fragrances that were added to my collection in 2024. So right at the beginning of the year, as soon as I was able to get a full bottle after just absolutely falling in love with my travel spray, I added Gilded from Bougie, or Eau de Bougie now, and I'm so happy I have this fragrance in my collection. First batch run, which is always a good thing as well. The other one that I added right at the beginning of the year is Moustache Eau de Toilette 1949 from Rochas. Now, this fragrance, I have to admit, was a bit of an impulse purchase, mainly because I saw it on a shelf in a pharmacy. It was very, very discounted. I think it was $20, I want to say. It is a beautiful bottle, and the scent is really good for what it is as well. The only reservation I have about keeping this fragrance is that I kind of have a couple already in this genre, and I find that when I'm thinking about those ones, for instance, I have a bottle of Dior's Eau Sauvage, the original Eau Sauvage. I have an Acqua di Parma, which I'll mention in a moment, and so I kind of feel like this gets pushed back when I'm considering wearing something of a citrus cologne type profile. It is really good value for money. The bottle is really beautiful. I just, at this point in time, am not certain that this will stay in my collection very long. Who knows? I might change my mind when I wear it and it gets warmer as the summer progresses. Then a little bit later in 2024, when I travelled to Milan for Exance, I was lucky enough to receive a bottle of L'Ever Jardin from Zara, which I could not get here in Australia. So once I got over there, I was able to add this to my collection, and I really, really love this fragrance. It is pretty amazing for a Zara perfume, and it's not It's not really a clone of anything, as sometimes Zara does with some of their fragrances. They're based or inspired on more popular designer perfumes, but Leather Jardin is definitely its own thing, done by Joe Malone, who did other fragrances for Zara. When I was leaving Italy, I made my very first duty-free perfume purchase, and which is the Acqua di Parma, the one sole Acqua di Parma that I own. This is Colonia Futura. Now, I was just informed by a viewer in one of my comments that they're actually discontinuing this, I think. So I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, but I really enjoyed this when I first sprayed it on and was basically testing it and comparing it with the other classics like the original Colonia, which I really like as well. Colonia Essenza or Assoluta, I never remember which one it is. But this is a really good citrus as done by Acqua di Parma in only the way they can do, but with the added it's got a bit more backbone in the dry down. It's woodier. There is a vetiver note that runs through this. So it kind of gives it a little bit more depth and oomph, and certainly seems to last on my skin a little bit longer than the other colonias do for Acqua di Parma. And around midway through this year, I was the most grateful recipient of a gift parcel from one of my subscribers. Thank you, Michael, who sent me a parcel of, I guess, unwanted fragrances that he had lying around, and I couldn't be happier with what I received. These two bottles here, the original Musk from Kiehl's and the current version of Canisa 10 by Canisa, classic leather fragrance. This took me, it was interesting. I did mention this. I wore this for a whole week straight, and in the first couple of days, I wasn't sure whether this perfume and I would get along, but as the week progressed, with each subsequent day that I wore this, it just got better and better on my skin, and I really grew to appreciate it. I already had a sample of original Musk and really love it. For a pure musk floral fragrance, it doesn't do much else, but it just smells good on my skin. I really love original musk, and I'm glad I have it. The surprise bottle that I got in this same parcel was a mini 15 ml Oud Radio by Cartier. This is from their more expensive line. Like pretty much every designer has now a more expensive exclusive line. I sampled these briefly in Milan earlier in the year, but I don't remember much about them. But this one I was quite excited to try first up because even though it's called Oud Radio, yes, there is like a Western synthetic oud base in here that you'd be familiar with in a lot of designer oud fragrances. But I really love the opening. It's got such a bright, juicy, succulent, spicy ginger in the opening, and it's my favorite part of this fragrance that in its overall development, that opening, and then into this sort of classy, sophisticated synthetic Western style oud radio. So that's a very generous 15 ml, which will last me quite a long time. The only blind buy that I had this year was this one here from Prada. This is from the Infusion line. This is Prada Infusion Douillet. This is the carnation based fragrance from them. This was recommended to me by someone on Instagram because I was definitely on a exploration of discovering carnation perfumes to see which ones I would love, and basically trying all the different styles I could get my nose on. And the jury is still out on this. I haven't done a full review. I don't dislike it, but I feel like this one here just does not give me the carnation that I'm after in the way that something like Filter by Hiram Green does, or Louillet from Angelus Creations. The carnation is softer than I'd like in here. It doesn't have the bite and that spice that I'm looking for, but the perfume, if you take the carnation out and don't isolate it as a thing to judge this perfume on, it's quite lovely, and it has made me want to try more of that Infusion line by Prada. So I don't expect to be adding too much more between now and the end of 2024. I suspect I'm going to be getting one more bottle, which I'll leave as a surprise when I receive it, and I'll show you on a video as soon as I get that. What it's made me think about, though, is the fact that a couple of years ago I went through a very thorough and ruthless declutter of my collection. I got it down to 60 bottles. It's kind of ballooned up to about 75 bottles again. I have a ton of samples that, many I still have not tested properly, but one of the things I want to focus on next year is kind of really getting that ruthlessness back and decluttering. There's a few that I'm thinking I will let go of, like Trumper's Sandalwood Cologne, my Tabac Vert from Rogue Perfumery are two perfumes that just don't excite me that much anymore, at least. And I do want to test more of the samples that I have, and maybe some of those will become loves. And I do have a standing perfume wish list of several perfumes that I do want to add. So I'm going to have to get a little bit ruthless with what goes in and what goes out, because I really don't want my collection to balloon out again. Just a personal choice. It's a little bit more difficult for me here in Australia because the avenues for being able to buy and sell and swap fragrances are pretty limited. I used to use Facebook fragrance groups quite a bit, but I'm really off Facebook now, and there's also just too much of hassle dealing with potential scammers and people messing you around when you're trying to sell a fragrance. I know people who don't live in Australia who are really good at really cycling through what they get. They'll buy and swap fragrances and get rid of stuff that they know that they won't like, but it's easy enough for them to swap them for other fragrances that they do want. So that's one real disadvantage in terms of getting through, or I guess sort of rotating through your collection in terms of what you bring in and what you bring out. I'm not a collector of fragrances. I don't have the physical space to keep unlimited amounts of bottles, and I just like, and I'm also going to be wearing everything that I own rather than just having bottles sitting around there collecting dust only to keep them as a reference scent. So that's the year in my ins and outs, my additions and subtractions for my perfume collection. I'd like to know more about how you guys deal with this aspect of the hobby of buying and wearing perfumes. How do you approach it, or do you just buy impulsively what you want and get rid of stuff you just no longer love? Let me know. I'm very curious. So I'll see you in the next video, and hope you're all having a good day. Bye for now.